Thanks, Kelly, and thanks everybody for attending. I know we're under some trying times, and I appreciate everyone carving out some time to join PTS, RFID Canada, and BluEpyc today. We're really excited about this webinar. BLE is not new technology, but relatively new to PTS, and we're just seeing so many great opportunities for our customers and our resellers to use the technology in solutions that RFID didn't typically handle well. And today we're going to do our best to show you one of our first solutions for vendor managed inventory. First, I thought it would be best if we started off just showing how we all came together. That's RFID Canada, PTS, and BluEpyc. The interesting thing is all three of these companies are located in different countries. BluEpyc is out of Italy, RFID Canada is obviously out of Canada, and PTS is out of New York, which is its own country in itself, but out of the United States, New York. And you're going to hear some great accents today, which makes it even better, much better than this New York accent. Anyway, so Bob, who is the president of RFID Canada, came to PTS around 1.5 years ago. And he presented to me a need and a solution, which he's going to show you today, and that's going to be the first part of this webinar. It really highlights the importance of BLE and how it fits in. The second part of the webinar, I'm going to review the software that we used in creating the solution. And finally, the finale is BluEpyc, and they're going to show you about their hardware technology for BLE. Again, we're really looking at the simple things here that are possible with BLE, but it's important to remember there's a lot more that's possible with triangulation and other things, but we'll call this the low-lying fruit. Anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bob from RFID Canada, and he's going to give you the high levels and the details of the solution he created.
Thank you, Brad, and hello, everyone. I hope everyone is managing well during this challenging time. As Brad said, my name is Bob Moroz. I represent RFID Canada, and I'm located in Toronto. So my goal today is to give everyone an overview of a deployment of an application using BLE. So basically the type of company it is, why BLE versus other technologies such as RFID, and the benefits of this solution. I'm not going to get into the technical aspects of the components. I'll leave that to the other two presenters, Portable Technology Solutions and BluEpyc. So when we look at the first thing we do is we address what is the challenges. So managing inventory can be a challenge on its own, but managing inventory remotely is more of a challenge. Now, if we combine that with managing inventory remotely in stores that are not your stores, can be a big challenge. So what we have is we have a manufacturer, which could also be a distributor, of high-end expensive products with dealers or retailers across North America. The product is provided to the dealers from the manufacturer on consignment. Therefore, the dealers do not have to pay for the inventory until the product is sold. And this is where lies the problem, knowing what is actually on inventory in each store. Now, it's very expensive to manage inventory when we are not certain if the product is still in the store or has been sold. So typically, the dealer won't always report what they've sold when it was sold. Dealers are independent, so manufacturers or distributors don't have access to their inventory unless they physically go to the store. So if a product is sold without knowing, it could not be replaced. So to verify the inventory, the manufacturer needs to hire audit teams to go to the store, which becomes expensive. So therefore, the inventory is handled manually. The information is obviously not as accurate, and it's out of date. Please change slide. Next slide. So first thing I have to note is that the solution that we're presenting today is suited to this business model and for manufacturer and distributor of high-end product. So this solution would not apply if we were talking, let's say, about low-cost, low-margin products. Next slide. Okay. So there are a lot of options when it comes to identifying products and managing inventory. The ones that were considered here were RFID and BLE. Now, let's look at these two different options and explain why BLE is a better solution for this type of business. First of all, read range. Okay, so we know the read range with RFID is limited. BLE allows for a better coverage of a store. Life expectancy. Well, it's not really an issue because the product should not be in the store more than 1 year, and typically it's sold within 6 months. Tag costs, and this is where we come in. We're talking about products that are high end, so they're certainly very easy to justify to have a BLE on each item. The key to this deployment is the deployment. So stores are independent. The installation must be simple and as low cost as possible. And ideally, we want what everybody wants is out of the box, plug and play. That was a requirement. So localizations need to be able to have visibility of the whole store. So RFID is great for identifying product crossing a point, whether it's a door, a portal, an opening, but it's very expensive to use RFID to cover a whole store, where BLE, because of its coverage, can cover the whole store. Okay, next slide. Okay. So out of the box, plug and play is what we've got with the BluEpyc gateway reader. So the manufacturer sends out to the store a gateway reader. As soon as that gateway reader is connected to the store Wi-Fi modem, it synchronizes with ClearStream's cloud-based software. All tagged items have a beacon that emit an ID number representing the item to the store gateway and reader. The gateway reader sends the beacon number to ClearStream's database. The database can be accessed by the manufacturer at any time of day. And that information is then brought in to the manufacturer's system and integrated with the manufacturer's ERP. Next slide. So now let's look at the benefits. With better inventory visibility and control, the manufacturer knows when a product is sold. So that obviously improves payment and cash flow. It reduces the cost of in-store audit. It makes sure that the right products are in the store at any time. And all this leads to a reduction of risk by reducing the costs and have better inventory at each store. In this deployment, the return on investment was less than 2 months. Now, before I pass this on to Brad, I just want to state that the success to deployment could not have been done without the expertise and the support of both PTS and BluEpyc. Brad?
Thanks, Bob. Really well done. And I hope everybody sees the value of this type of technology in that solution. I figure the next thing we'll do is we'll just go through what PTS does for those customers of BluEpyc and RFID Canada that are not familiar with us. So PTS has been around 20 years. We started off on the days of the Palm Pilot, if anyone out there who remembers those. And we create mobile data collection software and barcode systems that are user configurable. Really, the whole key of what we do is we try to make it very simple for anyone to get started using these technologies, barcode, RFID, BLE, and NFC. We have 2 pieces of software. We have ClearStream, which we'll get into more later, what the new features we added for this type of technology. But our core software that we started off with 20 years is a product called Tracer Plus. Tracer Plus is a mobile application development toolkit for non-programmers, and we enable anyone to create barcode, RFID, and NFC applications. There's no programming required, and it's free to try. What's unique about both of these products and what we do is we make it very simple for anyone, an end user or a reseller, to connect, and ISVs, to connect the data from a mobile handheld with a customized form or an RFID reader to a pre-existing database or a cloud platform or a local network. Basically, we make it simple to get that data into any format you want. We even can sync automatically to Excel. Tracer Plus supports barcode, UHF, HF, NFC, and BLE. But to add to that, we don't just support it. We go directly into the APIs of the manufacturers and take advantage of enterprise class features. With UHF, HF, NFC, and BLE, we can do amazing things with our software, all without programming, cutting out the development time, and getting you, the reseller or the end user, the time to concentrate on the areas that you really need to concentrate. Now, ClearStream came out around 10 years later after Tracer Plus because we had people using our Tracer Plus software for UHF, but they saw the need to create a fixed RFID solution. They couldn't have someone there just taking inventory with a barcode, just like Bob described with his vendor, his customer who needed to do audits in the field without having an auditor show up. So we created ClearStream RFID as a very simple, again, user configurable tool that doesn't require programming, that enables anyone, and I'll underline anyone, if you can read a manual, you should be able to use it, anyone to create an application, quickly deploy it, even test it before purchasing, and then connect it to a pre-existing system, local network, whether it's on board, the cloud, and it supports all these technologies, UHF, LF, HF, and BLE. So with this one platform, you can use your software that you're using already for management, or create a simple database, or even send it to an Excel sheet or a cloud platform, and take advantage of all these great on-the-edge technologies. Now I'm just going to get into a little bit of, and this is a little repetitive and I apologize, but why we decided to make the investment. We don't really like going with, the next best thing. That's dangerous for a software company. But the way Bob presented to us and the way we saw it with how BLE filled this gap where RFID didn't really work. RFID, if you've done an install, you understand it's kind of expensive. It's really, really valuable, but it's expensive to do a mass install, especially if you're trying to cover an entire store with signal. It also has a limited read range in the best case scenario. So you might get a 20 to 60 foot read range out of RFID, but again, that's limited and won't go through metal. It'll have problems with walls and certain surfaces. And then you factor in the fact that we had to put RFID sometimes into manufactured goods. We really saw that it really doesn't work well unless you have a very close read range because it's obviously shielded. BLE solved all these solutions. Gateways are half of the price. They have a 300-foot read range, and there's not much loss in these type of installs where there's a manufactured good. So we added it, and now you'll see that it's a drop-down within our toolkit. You can choose a BLE, like a BluEpyc, to connect directly to, and then automatically start sending data to your system. We can run all these technologies within ClearStream, and we really think that's exciting, giving customers a great ROI and a way to take advantage of these technologies and not be married to any one manufacturer or technology. For this install, we also started, and this is kind of unique to this install, but now is regular, we're doing it all the time because we're seeing more and more customers to have this need to aggregate all this data in a cloud. So we give the customer the ability to take a mobile handheld running Tracer Plus or a ClearStream handheld and send that to a cloud database. But what's unique is we give them the ability to send it to their customers, their vendors, and their supply chain to use this technology so everybody is on the same supply chain. They have this need for real-time data and for their inventory shipments and their sales out. The data can be shared, retrieved in real time, and the data can be easily connected to any system. What this is enabling them to do is make real-time decisions. So if someone, a supplier or a customer, uses 10 items of yours and you know how they have zero stock, you can instantaneously make a decision to start making more or to send them another shipment. Plus, you can also send them the invoice immediately, and you don't have to send them a 10-day invoice 10 day later or wait for the auditor to show up. So the cloud platform itself is configurable. We can set it up to do pretty much anything that the customer wants, but on the core, it's a basic idea. We take all of this different data and connect it to one data depository that anyone can connect to. It enables sharing of real-time data between systems and organizations. We're actually doing and assisting with the building of buildings in New York City, taking the subcontractors' data of when they manufacture goods, sending it to the ClearStream database in the cloud, And then as they show up on the site, we're actually receiving the items through Uhf RFID. It's all simple and affordable and highly customizable. So that's kind of what we're doing there. Finally, ClearStream now is configurable and BLE is configurable in the cloud. One of the big problems we see, and Bob touched on it here, it's very hard to do a remote deployment on someone else's network. You have to go through your IT departments, you have to send someone there to plug it in. These are all field deployable, and now we have a cloud configurator where you can plug in RFID technology or BLE and actually turn on and off readers, get readers, turn them, make them pulse remotely. So essentially, you have instantaneous views and control of hundreds, if not thousands of locations, and can see if there's problems taking place in the field. And this is all available now via the new versions of ClearStream. Anyway, with that being said, I'm now going to flip it over to BluEpyc, and I really am excited about hearing what they have to say. They have some amazing technology, and we're learning more and more about BLE and what's possible every day. So I'm going to flip it over to Paulo and Francesco, and they're going to show you what they have to offer.
Hi, everybody. Thanks to Brad, and thanks to you for sharing your time with us today. My name is Paula, and I am in charge of marketing and global communication in Softwork Group, the technology provider composed by two business units, RFID Global for RFID and NFC, and BluEpyc for Bluetooth Low Energy. Together with us today, also Francesco Damiani, BLE sales specialist, who will manage the key content of our speech, meaning BLE devices and services. So as said, BluEpyc is the business unit focused on wireless technologies, Bluetooth Low Energy above all. It means we project and produce beacon, EchoBeacon, and gateway. And so we create a standard wireless connectivity for people and objects across several markets. For instance, building automation, people and vehicle access control, smart factory and maintenance, or asset tracking and safety. So next, please. So the way we think and we implement BLE systems comes from our RFID story. If we use BLE like an active RFID, putting tech beacon on moving people or items, and installing fixed smart devices such as EchoBeacon or gateway in the area to monitor. The result is a wireless system, no cable, for automatic identification, traceability, and localization of people and the objects. And all this is based on a standard. It's ideal in many application scenarios, as said. But how is this result possible? Through the devices and the engineering services. Beacon, or as said, our key product, EchoBeacon, as well as a new system such as the new hybrid beacon wake up and activator system. So now I give the word to my colleague, Francesco. He will tell you more about these BLE architectures.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Francesco. I want to thank every one of you that attended this webinar. And now it's time to talk about the hardware side of this project. And the first family of devices I would like to introduce you is the gateway family. The gateways used in this project have an Ethernet connection, but within the family there are three different models with three types of connection that are Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and GPRS. Gateway are equipped with digital input so they can be wakened up on trigger, and physical output relay. They come in 3 types of enclosure: indoor, desktop, and industrial IP66 boxes. But let's find out how they work in detail. Next slide, please. Thank you. The gateway detects the BLE signal from the surrounding beacons and transmits them via TCP IP or HTML to the host server or to the cloud server. We developed a custom firmware in Bluetooth 5.1 that ensures that we receive data with a high anti-collision level, so that we can read up to 100 Bluetooth low energy signal per second. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about the EchoBeacon family. The EchoBeacon was created to respond for the need for a most precise localization. It is in fact particularly suitable for an indoor positioning and real-time location system projects. The EchoBeacons comes in 4 models: the indoor, desktop, USB, and industrial IP66 enclosure. It only needs to be connected to the power without any IP address or LAN connection, and this allows to a very low infrastructural cost and makes it very easy to install. It also has a custom firmware on which we implemented the Kalman filter that is programmed to this filter allows to reduce the uncertainty of the distance of the BLE signal through an algorithm calculation on board. All these parameters are adjustable through the BluEpyc mobile application. But let's find out now how it works and why it's the best choice for a low cost and efficient localization system. Next. The EchoBeacon acts as a bridge between the beacon and the gateway. It receives the BLE advertised within the limited area and broadcasts them to the gateway at a distance up to 100 meters. This advertised package includes the ID of the beacon and also the EchoBeacon ID. In this way, I can know which one is in which specific area. Through the mobile application, you can set the RSSI filter in order to create smaller sub-areas of detection for a more capillary localization. Next. And now the third part of our Bluetooth environment, the beacon. Our devices detect any type of BLE signal because it's a standard. However, we decided to create our own beacon to provide the full service to our customers. On our equipment, in fact, you can set the power of the network type of the advertising required, and also have the push button and a temperature and humidity sensor. And each one of these features create a different specific advertising. Next. So let's make an example first of a typical application that includes all 3 BLE pillars. Let's say we are in a factory, an assembly line. We have the beacons attached to the workers and the item in development. We have the EchoBeacon that monitors the specific areas of the factory and specific station of the production line. With the BluEpyc EchoBeacon and gateway architecture, you will know at what exact point of the manufacturing of the product you are, and also which people are working on it. You can know the specific stage of the production and how long it took it to be there. The gateway will send all the data to a cloud server, for example, so wherever you will be, you will have an accurate point of view of your company. And where our existing products won't meet your requirement, through our engineering service, as you can see in the slide, we will able and willing to help you to develop your own and new advanced devices. And we will guide you through all the steps from the developing of the devices to the final release of the product. Thank you very much. I ended my presentation.
So I just wanted to let everyone know that a recording of this webinar will be made available probably in about a day. We'll send an email out. But we've got some questions and would love to open it up for everyone to ask their questions. First of all, there's some more questions about what BLE is, and that's Bluetooth Low Energy, and how it compares to RFID for some applications. So let me throw one out there that Naeem Ali put out. he has a high-value electrical equipment that are consigned at customers' multiple locations, and kind of based on a check-in and check-out and history of the usage of that product. Is there any recommendations on how BLE could be utilized for that? I know this probably involves a lot more questions, but we'd just love to hear your feedback on that.
I guess any applications where you need visibility in a large area, BLE fits well. Now, to add to BLE or Bluetooth Low Energy we're basically talking about a chip with a battery. And the nice thing about it is that it's very easy to apply. I mean, just like RFID, you could basically affix it to pretty well any item. It's less affected by the environment, such as metal, because it's got its own power and it beacons. But a couple things we can add to is that BLE comes, as you can see from the chart that I put up, prices that range from $15 to $50. So the key difference is obviously the type of beacon, the type of battery. But the other thing too is beacons come with sensors. So you could monitor movements of products, temperature, exposure to chemicals. There are a lot of different options you have. And plus they do come with different packaging. So if we're in an environment like this one here that's retail, we're not quite as concerned about the environment or exposure to chemical. But if you're in an industrial site or a construction site, then you may obviously be very concerned about exposure to maybe extreme temperature or impact or chemicals. And one thing you can do is there's a lot of BLE options. One thing that Francesco also stated too is that there's a lot of, because it's micro-based, there's a lot of configuration that can be done. One key part of configuring a BLE beacon is how often does it beacon. So the more often you beacon, then obviously the more draining you'll have on the battery. And the other thing too is the power level. You could change the power setting of the beacon. Some beacon is very simple by simply indicating low, medium, or high. Other beacons will have other things. But when a beacon transmits, the first thing that you obviously need to know is the ID number, because that'll represent the item. But it'll also beacon the power of the battery, so you can manage your battery. So if you're in a remote industrial area where you would need to cover a lot of areas, then obviously BLE is a great solution for that. Not just knowing what is physically there, but possibly what is being used at any time and when it's entered or left, or if something leaves that should not be leaving, then obviously you could trigger some signals. On the gateways that manage or monitors the beacon, there are output relays that you could set from your software and determine whether or not you want something like an alarm or open a gate or whatever. So there's a lot of options when it comes to that. The key factors, I think, when we look at BLE compared to RFID is, number one is the coverage. What coverage do we need? If we're talking about a very controlled area where we simply need to know something that crosses a point and tells us that it's left one area to another, then RFID is a good choice. But if we need to cover a large area, BLE is probably something you want to consider. The other thing too is obviously what kind of items, what value of items that we're identifying. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, let me do a follow-up question from somebody else that asked, how accurate is the positioning? And then a second question was, well, how are these tags read? So if you guys could address those questions.
Yeah, is it probably for BluEpyc? Did BluEpyc want to weigh in on that one? Looks like they're muted. So I could probably touch on the accuracy, and maybe Francesco and Paulo could add to it. You're looking at something that's probably accuracy of about, I'm going to say.
Okay, hello, sorry, the mic was muted.
Okay, so Francesco,
yeah. You want to answer or?
Okay, I'll just finish my answer, then you could add to it. But I was thinking the accuracy of BLE typically would be about 3 meters or 10 feet. Is that correct?
Yeah, the accuracy of the Bluetooth low energy signal is a very hard topic because it depends on the RSSI signal, and this can fluctuate. So I can read the RSSI level, and I can make I can say that is, for example, at 3 meters, but it's suitable to rebounding, and it depends on which obstacle are in between the antenna and the BLE beacon, for example. So it is not a very accurate method to calculate the distance, but it's more suitable to calculate the presence.
Let me follow up since I have you. Yeah, on there. Someone's asking about, for like real-time location systems, is that BLE gateway provide AOA, or I guess angle of arrival, angle of departure?
Yes, the AOA and AOD is a typical feature of the 5.1 Bluetooth, but it requires specific antennas and specific switch antennas that we are working on it. It's a very brand new technology, and it is in development right now. And for the accuracy of the real-time location system, as I explained in my presentation, we are working with the EchoBeacon for this RTLS. Because the EchoBeacon with the Kalman filter, as I explained, and positioning a lot of sub areas, we can detect that we have the detection of the specific areas.
And someone asked how the tags are read, and I think, you know, if you kind of go over this kit here and explain what you have here and how you can read the tags and so on, that would be helpful.
Excuse me, can you repeat the question, please?
We had a question that says, you know, how are these tags read? What type of reader? And so I thought it would be helpful if you could go over this kit and that how it can read a tag and how you have everything there.
I guess I'll just tell about the kit here. This is Brad. In the basic sense, this is a BluEpyc gateway. It's basically an antenna that's going to listen for signal from the BluEpyc beacons, which will be pre-programmed to match, or just like a barcode, relate to some item. And depending on how you set up that beacon, it's going to send out a signal at a certain time period, every 3 seconds, every half a second, whatever it may be. And then you'll have a database that ClearStream is connected to, sending the details about what we captured. So, for example, if we do triangulation, you can set up a REST API, you know, almost like a virtual map, and it will calculate the RSSI read for each beacon by all the different antennas and place it on the map and what that item is. So again, if you think it in a really basic sense, because I saw the question, just think of it like a really smart barcode. It represents an ID number that in your database represents something.
And then this is a question that was asked really at the beginning, and I see a couple other people echoing it. Bob, can you talk a little bit about the return on investment, some of the metrics that this vendor achieved already and getting started with this application?
Okay, so if we look at the first thing is the challenge. What was the goal? The goal was to have better visibility of inventory. Inventory obviously was very costly. And the second thing is to making sure that not only that you manage the inventory on what was in the store, but you also made sure that the right product was in the store. So if items that are obviously very important at a specific time, you want to make sure that they are in the store. And because the manufacturer distributor did not have control on the information coming from the independent retailers, they weren't really able to make a decision. So one of the things that they were finding is that, you know, a product was sold, but they may not know. And in some cases, the dealers may hold on telling the manufacturer that they sold a specific product for as long as 3 to 6 months. And sometimes it wasn't until they sent an audit team in the store and realized that that product is no longer there. So the cash flow part was the key part, is you want to obviously being able to invoice and get paid as a manufacturer when that product is sold through. So that's the number one thing, is the key was the cash flow. But the second thing is making sure that we didn't have too much of a certain product on inventory. And second of all, you had the right inventory there. So managing shipping and managing inventory. And that's why they were able to reduce their costs. One key cost too is the service cost. Sending an audit team, even though it was a local audit team, because you got to realize that these stores are located in all major centers and also some of the smaller communities, you have to send an audit team. So the cost of having an audit team. So you basically eliminated all the costs of having people going to the store, because the information is provided to you on a daily basis. So now you've got information on a daily basis that's accurate at basically no cost of sending people. Number two is you make sure that you got the right product at the store and it was able to be sold, because if it's not there, obviously it's not going to be sold. And number three is you truly manage that inventory, and then the cash flow part came all with that, and being able to get paid on a faster manner. That's how they managed to get that quick return on investment.
Right. I have another question on what version BLE standard are you using?
What version?
I think that we are using the 5.1 Bluetooth low energy standard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the tools available to detect the beacon battery level?
So the battery level of the beacon will be inside the advertise. It's a parameter that we will be sent to the gateway, so we can monitor the battery level. And the question also includes how long it would last the battery, or just how to know.
That's all they ask, but I think you're, yeah.
No, usually a normal battery will last, sending an advertise every second at maximum power for a whole year, every day, 24/7, we will last 1 year, yes. But if you will send, for example, the advertise every 5 seconds, for example, the longer the battery will last at least 2 or 3 years, I think.
Great. So I have an interesting question. Can mobile phones be used as beacons or trackers in this BLE for inventory framework?
I'll take this one, I guess.
Okay.
With Tracer Plus, and it's all standard built in your Android and devices, that we can actually detect the signal. We actually have a demo video of how it's done on YouTube. Really powerful again, and it can be read by a gateway or a mobile phone at the same time. So we're seeing remote repairmen have this need. They're looking for, maybe it's a printer they're servicing, and they want to locate it within a 5,000-foot office. They can quickly turn on a Geiger mode within Tracer Plus, and it'll start beeping louder when it gets closer to the item. And that's all based on the signal strength it's getting. So it's very similar to the Geiger we use in RFID UHF scenarios. Maybe Bob or the BluEpyc team can talk about what actual phone operating systems supported. I believe it's Android and iOS may support it as well now.
So I could add to that, and maybe Francesco could certainly weigh in on it. So basically, a phone could act as two components. One, it can act as a reader and being able to read any BLE device that are in the presence of the phone. The second thing is the phone can act as a beacon also. So a gateway could identify people by the fact that if they've got their BLE enabled on their phone, they could read that. So Francesco, do you want to add to that?
Yes, they can, as you said, I agree with you. They can act both as a reader than an emitter, but I just want to add that it's not out of the box. You will have to make an application that will send.
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the mobile Android have the BLA Bluetooth inside, but you will need a specific app to send a BLA advertise compatible.
Francesca, is your BLE gateway support LoRa as a bot call?
As about now, no, but as I said at the end of our presentation, we are also developing custom projects, but as right now, we don't include LoRa.
And what is the highest precision that you measured in your applications based in centimeters or meters?
So the precision, as I said, we working on areas. We set the RSSI filter in order to limit a specific area, and the threshold error or threshold can vary between maybe 1 meter. But for a more precise application that we have not included in this presentation because it wasn't specific to this project, we developed another hybrid system that includes the LF detection area. It's called activator system. You maybe will find out on our website, and includes the low frequency activation system in order to have a threshold with a precision up to 3-4 centimeters.
Great. One was asking, in this application, are you tracking each tag all the time or just updating when a tag has left the store?
We are tracking all the time. So we have every day, we have a file coming in from every store that shows the products that are present. So it's kind of a process of elimination. So if today you're reading 10 items and then tomorrow you read 9, then you assume that that one that's missing has been sold.
Is there a beacon that has a trigger wake up mode from a mobile device that you could do?
Francesco, did you want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, we have, no, the beacon is not waking up from a mobile. No, we don't have that kind of beacon. The only trigger wake up that we have is with the activator, and is this hybrid system that I described.
And I also got a question, does beacons and gateways, are they X-proof, and what is the standard of the IP?
X-proof, waterproof, you mean?
I didn't know what X-proof means either.
Okay, X-proof, it means, I think that it means to the IP rating, because it's 66 our enclosures. So it resists to a direct splash of water, but not underwater.
And to add to that is there are a lot of different beacons with different enclosure. So if a requirement is for something a little bit more rugged, more outdoor, then there are beacons that are higher IP ratings.
And how do you create the association between the beacon and an item?
Okay, so I could probably weigh in on that one. So when an item is manufactured, a beacon is affixed to the item. And in the ERP database of the manufacturer, the beacon ID number, which are serialized, is associated with the serial number of the product and ultimately the record of that item.
And is there a RFID?
I'll just add to that. What we're seeing, oops, sorry. We're seeing a lot of customers do is they'll actually put a barcode on that beacon that represents the ID of the beacon. So when they are manufacturing an item or they introduce an asset, they'll just simply scan that barcode and then it's automatically associated to the record in their database.
Yeah, Brad, thank you for adding that. That was a very good point.
Yeah.
Actually, in this situation, we provide beacons that have got a QR code representing the ID number of the beacon, and that's exactly what they do on a production line. After it's gone through quality control, they read the barcode and they associate it with the record of that product.
Do you have an RFID reader that can read both active and passive RFID tags?
They're two separate technologies, so they'd be two separate readers.
Yeah, there are two separate
They may
readers.
have UHF RFID readers that also have BLE built in, so you could read both. I'd have to look further in the specs, but some of the UHF RFID readers can read the beacons, but I'm not sure about active tags. Active tags are really proprietary.
And what is the read distance or range of the EchoBeacon?
So the EchoBeacon has the same SIP, of the gateway, but we reduce the power in order to create the locationing system environment. But it goes up to 100 meters in radius, the max power reading. But the fact is that the power have to come from the beacon, and what we set on the EchoBeacon is the sensitive of the detection.
How much accuracy would a BLE tag perform when there'd be lots of reflection from surrounding metals?
So metal is not translucid to the BLE signals. So if you include a beacon inside a closed box of metal, no signal will come out because it's a Faraday cage. But the BLE signal just needs a little passage to go out and reach the reader. Opposite to the RFID, that the hard part is to reach the tag. Do you need a lot of power to reach the small tag? In this case, the active BLE is the beacon to send out his signal. So it just need so it can reach the antenna much further.
And how much accuracy was required for this application in the stores?
There's no specific location accuracy. The accuracy is knowing that it's there. So it's reliability and making sure that we could read everything that's in the store.
I've got a couple questions here about, can beacons be read by a conventional cell phone?
The short answer is yes. But if you want to specifically handle that, because one thing you put your phone on, you're going to read anything that's got a Bluetooth ID number. So if you want to be precise on what you're reading, that you may need to develop an app like Francesco said, or you look at Tracer Plus, which, and I think Brad, you could probably add to that. Tracer Plus can work on cell phones, any Android device, so you could utilize that as your reader. Brad, did you want to add on that?
Yeah, we're compatible with the cell phones, and we have a lot of folks testing it. You would just have to download the Tracer Plus trial, and you could ask our support team how to turn that on if there are any questions. But essentially, again, the power of Tracer Plus is that you can create a basic app in a few minutes or use one of our samples and then just turn on the technologies you want to read.
I think that helps answer that question. What's the distance the access points need to be apart from each for the BLE devices? I guess maybe not to get cross-read.
We're talking about the gateways?
Yes. What distance would they maybe need to be apart from each other?
Okay, so I'm going to let Francesco answer that, but just to bring in perspective of this specific case, in most of the case, I'm going to say 95% of the cases, only one gateway was required to cover most of the stores. Certain other stores where they had maybe a showroom that was separate, they needed multiple gateways, but one gateway would cover a typical store of this type of business model. But in a situation where you have a large area with multiple gateways, I'm going to let Francesco kind of weigh in on that and add comments to it.
Yeah, exactly. As Bob said, to just know the presence of a specific item, you just need one gateway, and we cover up to 100 meters in open air radius. So one gateway for the store, and you will know which beacons are in the store. The multiple gateways, or as our point of view, the multiple EchoBeacon, It's used in the case of we want to have a location-based system, so a real-time location system in specific sub-areas. In this way, you will need multiple devices because every device will correspond to specific sub-areas.
I guess following that up, someone's asking about the reading direction. Does it read in 360 degrees?
The reading direction is imagine is a bubble. So in 360 degrees, up and low, so all around.
And what is the advantage of BLE over active RFID?
Active RFID is a proprietary technology, and Bluetooth Low Energy, first of all, is an open standard. So, for example, the question that we had before on the mobile, on the easiness to develop new products, it's an open standard. So it's Bluetooth SIG, so everyone can use different item together.
And if I was just going to add to that. The other thing too about being a global standard is that it allows us to certainly have access to a lot more different options when it comes to beacon. You have lower cost beacons, obviously more expensive beacons that provide certain characteristics, as I mentioned earlier. So that's a key part of it. And obviously with the globalization, it certainly brings the cost down, and the beacons are less expensive, and obviously the gateways or the readers are less expensive too.
Yeah, and if we could add, just as a software company, we always look for standards, like in Uhf RFID, you have an LLRP standard. So either you're looking for a huge manufacturer who has a presence, or a standard out there that allows all the manufacturers to take advantage of it. Otherwise, as a software company, especially when you go into APIs, like an active RFID API, you're constantly redeveloping for every manufacturer, which is a lot of work. And unless the volume is there, it's not doable. It's just not financially possible. And that's what we've seen with active RFID over the last 10 years that we've been approached with it. It's so proprietary that it's, for a software company, you have to depend on one opportunity paying for that entire development process, and understanding that that might be the last time you ever do that project.
And not to take anything away from active technology, though, it does have its specialty, and most of the active technology out there are usually developed to meet a specific application. So they do have their niche market more special, but they're more niche oriented than I would say BLE is.
So how strong is that penetrative power for the tags? What would happen if someone's trying to conceal it? How well could it be detected?
It depends on the power that you broadcast the beacon. For a normal inside wall, it will pass through, but several walls with metal inside will not pass through the signal.
I think we're talking about, somehow somebody trying to maybe steal an item out, by trying to cover the tag. Is it, how well does it penetrate through maybe someone's hands or jackets? Or
it penetrates very well, opposite to the UHF RFID that is limited to the body. The BLA signal will pass through the body.
If I can add a couple of things to that, if we are concerned about, let's say, theft or something leaving without being noticed, there's a couple of things that can be done. One is there's some BLE tag that have tamper detect. So as soon as the tag it removes, it broadcasts an error signal that obviously can be handled by the software. The second one is if they take an item and they cover it. Let's say the item is small enough, they put it into a metal box, which prevents us from seeing that beacon signal, then obviously it does make it, you lose visibility. So if your system is set up to look at visibility and identify if something is missing, that could be another way that you could detect that something is no longer visible, no longer present, or has left the facility. And that could trigger obviously an alarm or some kind of a error signal.
Yeah, I agree. That's the logic of Yeah, I completely agree.
Are BLE beacons available with light sensors or buzzers or beeps? Is it possible to trigger those type of things from an application?
So the question is, if the beacon has got the beans trigger, or they can trigger something. I don't understand, sorry.
Are beacons available with a sensor, like a light sensor or a buzzer or something on the beacon itself?
Yeah, as anticipated, as Bob said, is a very open technology, so we can develop something specific. Our beacon right now has got LED that can be seen as a trigger, but there can be also specific beacon that have a special, for example, sound signal. Like the EchoBeacon, for example, has got a relay output that can be connected to a buzzer, for example.
And are these suitable for tracking shipping containers within a shipyard?
Yes, yes. The short answer is yes. Yes, they do.
Okay. Well, I was gonna let everyone know that we can follow up with everyone's questions more individually as well. So we were just kind of letting it go to the end of the hour here. Will MQTT be added? Not sure what that is.
We are developing a new gateway that it will include the MQTT.
It was mentioned that some of the beacons have temperature and humidity sensors. Is it possible to have other inputs for a variety of other sensors?
As I said again, it's all customizable. It depends on the number and on the project. Right now, we are ready to sell the accelerometer and temperature and humidity sensor, but other sensor can be.
Okay, and what about the polarization of the antenna in the gateway?
Sorry, can you repeat please the question?
What is the polarization of the antenna in the gateway?
The antenna in the gateway is not polarized, so it's circular. It can read from all the direction, 360 degrees up and down.
All right. Well, I think that that's about the end of the questions. Like I said, there's great chance for follow-up for these questions, and you can reach out directly, as well as if you want to test out the technology. PTS mobile website has a starter kit that has everything you need to get started. We'll post up the webinar here on the registration page and send out an email with the link to that. So thank you again for everyone for attending and your great questions, and hopefully maybe we'll have some follow-up. There's a lot of interest in the Bluetooth technology that I think we could dive in a little bit further on.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks everybody for attending. We'll, I guess, close down the webinar now. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Paula. Thanks, Francesco.
Okay, thank you to you. Thank you, everybody, for attending this webinar, and we wish you all the best to the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you to attend this webinar. And yes, I wish you the best. And if you have further questions, don't hesitate to contact us directly.